You're listening to Linux News Log, separating the Linux and open source signal from the noise.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I am your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Petaluma, California, here in Studio MC2 at Quicksurf Internet Studios. Linux News Log is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to techpodcast.com and check out all the other technology-related shows over there as well. I'd like to encourage everybody to visit us online over at quicksurf.com. Also, please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a subscribe link in the video above me. Otherwise, head to the website, and in the show notes for every episode, I have links that allow you to subscribe to an OGG Vorbis feed of the show, or an MP3, or a standard definition H.264, or a high def H.264, and you can subscribe using your podcatcher of choice, or if you're on a mobile device, whatever app is available for that mobile device for subscribing to podcasts. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the stories for this episode. Over at ZDNet, the Linux Foundation has released a Windows Secure Boot fix. This is from Stephen J. Von Nichols. He starts off, it took longer than anyone expected, but the Linux Foundation fix for Windows 8 PC's unified extensible firmware interface secure boot lockout of other operating systems has finally arrived. James Bottomley, parallel CTO of server virtualization, well-known Linux kernel maintainer, and the man behind the Linux Foundation's efforts to create an easy way to install and boot Linux on Windows 8 PCs, announced on February 8th that the Linux Foundation UEFI secure boot system was finally out. So check it out if you want to run this on a Windows 8 UEFI PC, if you want to run any Linux distributions out there. For the ones that aren't already supporting it, you may have to do some work to get it in there, but there are a number of distributions that will be starting to support this in the very near future. From AfterDawn.com, John Carmack is saying that porting games to Linux is not worth it. Quoting him, the conventional wisdom is that native Linux games are not a good market. ID Software tested the conventional wisdom twice with Quake Arena and Quake Live. The conventional wisdom proved correct. Arguments can be made that neither one was an optimal test case, but they were honest tries. So what he's advocating instead of full native ports is doing Windows emulation. He thinks that that would be a better choice. And he really wants Wine to be better developed. So he says that he truly does feel that emulation of some sort is a proper technical direction for gaming on Linux. It obviously is pragmatic in the range of possible support, but it shouldn't have technical stigma that it does. So pretty interesting. Needless to say, we shouldn't be expecting to see any native Linux games from ID Software anytime in the near future. From mobilemag.com, the Ubuntu phone, we previously touched on this, is going to be launched in October of 2013. Nice. I'll be looking forward to checking it out and see what it's all about. Definitely keep an eye out for that one. From Tech Radar, there's a story here. Microsoft is mulling over providing Microsoft Office for Linux. The article starts off, will 2013 be the year of Linux? Maybe not. But then 2014 could certainly pick up that scepter instead. So there's some rumors floating around that Microsoft is developing its first ever native Linux program, a Microsoft Office port that could be ready by 2014. Office for Android is already in development. And since Android is a Linux-based OS, it will be that much easier to get Office onto Ubuntu or another Linux distribution. So the story here raises a valid question. Why the change of heart? And it's true. I mean, up until this point, Microsoft has, mostly ignored Linux. But the open source operating system has been on the rise recently. Still, as of last summer, Linux held a distant third place to OS X and Windows with 5% of total PC users, which 5% is not a large percentage, but when you consider how many PC users there are out there, 5% is huge, still huge numbers. OS X held 8.7% and Windows had the rest, which, it's about right. Windows is, I'm not a Windows user. Let me just put it that way. Anyway, so, it'd be interesting to see what comes of this. I'll be keeping an eye on it, obviously. From VentureBeat in their gadgets section, yes, you can run Windows on your Microsoft Surface Pro. It has been confirmed that you can turn off the secure boot on the Microsoft Surface Pro and install any operating system that you so desire. So pretty interesting. We'll see if anybody does that. That'd be kind of neat to see something of that nature. From Computer World over at IDG, KDE 4.10 delivers key updates across the board. Pretty nice. Hard on the heels of news earlier this week that KDE has been named the best desktop environment in a recent Linux user survey. The team behind the popular project on Wednesday launched a fresh new version of the software. So a couple of new things. Number one, KDE Plasma workspaces. Pretty nice. QML-based Qt Quick Framework has been now deployed in many Plasma workspace components. Its improved consistency, layout behavior, stability, and ease of use and performance are among the results of that change. A new KML-based screen locker, meanwhile, makes workspaces more secure. Pretty cool. KDE applications and the KDE development platform. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what comes of this as it moves along. From tgdaily.com, Arctic debuts a Linux-powered XBMC system. So Arctic has introduced this Linux-powered system. It's specifically designed to run XBMC's popular Media Center app. Key specs include an OpenELEC 3.0, XBMC 12, a fanless design, an Intel x86 Atom 1.8 GHz processor, AMD Radeon HD graphics, the 5430, and the price tag on this bad boy is $229. Not bad. Additionally, you get 2 gigs of RAM, a terabyte hard drive, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, HDMI, VGA, SPDIF out, 5 USB 2.0 ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports, a 3.5mm audio jack, a 24x DVD RW drive, and a flash card reader, along with an IR receiver. So pretty neat. It's basically ready to be plugged into a television with a wireless remote to navigate and play content. Sounds good to me. From PC Advisor, how to run Linux inside Windows using VirtualBox. That's right. If you want to try out Linux and you don't want to dedicate or buy a whole computer to try something out on Linux, and you don't want to, if you're not super technical or you don't want to risk loading, having multi-boot, having Windows and Linux, all together as one installed on one computer, natively on the hard drive, you can run VirtualBox and install Linux that way. It's a little less optimal, but it still works and you still get acceptable performance, particularly if you already have a fairly powerful computer. Like if you've got a quad processor system with, hyperthreading on all 4 cores. So you've got like 8 CPUs, right? 8 CPUs, virtual CPUs. I'm using air quotes here. It's pretty easy to dedicate 2 cores to Linux and have it come up and, be all happy and hunky-dory. So anyway, this is a nice little how-to. It's basically a run-through on how to install a Linux distro called Damn Small Linux using Oracle's VirtualBox. VirtualBox is really handy for installing really pretty much any operating system. So, and I'm actually a pretty heavy user of it here at home. So pretty neat. Definitely check it out if you're looking to do something of that nature. That'll do it for this edition of Linux News Log. As always, everything we've talked about is linked up in the show notes. You can find those online at linux.quicksurf.com. Please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. You can shoot me an email, linux@quicksurf.com. And with that, I will see all of you on the next episode. See you then. Bye.